Hey, hey y'all. It's me, Christine, the host of this here IG Live, and also the host of Flourish in the Foreign, the podcast that you know and love. The podcast that elevates and affirms the voices and stories of Black women living and thriving abroad, while also exploring living abroad as a pathway to wellness. And when I talk about wellness, I'm talking about holistic wellness. I'm talking about financial, professional, mental, physical, spiritual, all of the wellnesses. And today I wanted to hop on here really quickly, quite unexpectedly, mostly because I already had some makeup on and I didn't want to, I wanted to use it all to like the fullest extent. Y'all know how it is in these pandemic streets. Like, you put on some makeup and you want to you need everyone to see you in it so that it's not wasted. And I didn't even do it good. Oh, goodness. All right. Anyway, I wanted to come on here to quickly talk about some things that you may have missed with Flourish in the Foreign. And I also wanted to talk to you about expat entrepreneurs building a business overseas, which is the title of an article that I wrote that was just recently released by The Black Expat. Shout out to Amanda. So yeah, you can definitely read that article on theblackexpat.com. And the reason why I wrote the article was that I think that creating a business to support yourself to go abroad is amazing and great. But there are definitely some considerations to think about before you decide to make that leap. Regardless if it's a digital business, a completely online business, you have digital products or services, info products, services, whatever, or you have a brick and mortar store, or you have physical products that you are shipping yourself, you're having drop shipped, things like that. There are some kind of basic, I think, things to consider. In this article that I wrote for The Black Expat, it's actually split into two, so be on the lookout for the second half. But I wanted to take the time to talk about it. I want to talk about some of the things that I wrote about, but also I wanted to also invite you guys to join me because I'm doing a business strategy chat this evening, or maybe it'll be your afternoon. It's going to be at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you're thinking about starting a business to either support yourself when you launch and go abroad, or perhaps you're already abroad and you want a business to support yourself, whatever it is, or you want to scale your side hustle so that you can support yourself to go abroad, you definitely want to join me in this chat. This chat is going to be limited. I want it to be limited, but I also have a soft heart because I like helping a lot of people. But I want to be able to go through basically one, how I got abroad and did all the things that I do, two, the framework that I suggest and the framework that I basically set up and execute for my clients so that you can maybe get a sense on how to go abroad and start your own business. But right now we're going to start with the article that I wrote. Yeah, because, I wrote an article. I did thing. And there's going to be more articles to come. So in this article, Expat Entrepreneurs Building a Business Overseas, again on the blackexpat.com. The first thing that I talk about to consider is the type of business that you will be setting up. Obviously, before we even get to the type of business, you need to assess what are your wares, what will you be exchanging for money. But once you have your idea, then this is the next step, right? If you have issues with figuring out what your idea is, then you need to actually join me in the chat this afternoon because we'll get more into the idea. This is once you have an idea, you already got a product, you already got something to think about. So the first step would be, and maybe not the first step, but definitely an important consideration, is the type of business that you will be setting up. Why? Oh, so many reasons why, but I'm going to try to keep it quick because I don't want to go too long today. Okay, so you need to consider if your business will be online, brick and mortar. The reason why it's important for you to make these kind of considerations is that, let's take brick and mortar. You will have a physical location, you will have perhaps physical inventory that you need to be accounted for. You have logistics to also consider. You have to think about what are rental contracts for a facility to manage and house your things. What is the logistics and infrastructures on the ground to be able to move your wares from whenever you manufacture them to actually people purchasing them, right? And the thing is about infrastructure is that it's still applicable if you have an online shop, but you have physical products, because again, how are people going to get it from where you are? And you have a consideration, right? So you could be, I'm in Spain. I could have an online business and I'm selling oils, and perhaps I make the oils myself here in Spain in my house. I still have to figure out how I'm going to get them from my house to wherever my customers are. I have to consider not only infrastructure, Spain has infrastructure, has a postal delivery service, but also it has, I have gripes with the postal delivery service here. It has also, you have to consider customs. So then it's like, okay, if most of my clients are in the US, but I'm in Spain, do I really want to figure out customs to ship my handmade goods from Spain to the United States? Especially if I'm just starting out, I'm a, solopreneur. This is my first thing. I haven't made enough revenue or don't have that much so I can really scale. Like, that's something to think about. Or maybe I'm like, okay, I want to make this business, but most of my business is in the United States. So maybe I'm going to employ my little sister. Shout out to my little sister if she watches this. I'm going to employ my little sister and be like, look, this is the formula and this is what you need to do. But I'm going to set up the online business. I'm going to manage some marketing. I'm going to manage maybe the books and stuff like that. But she's an employee of my business, and she makes it, she packages it, and she sends it from Atlanta to all over the United States, because that's where my market is, right? Those are some of the kind of considerations you need to start thinking about. What type of business is it going to be? Is it going to be service-based? And if the services, can they be delivered over the internet? Or will you need to travel to deliver your services? That's something to think about as well. If it's going to be fully online, fully info products or digital products, or digital services where you can deliver the services digitally, that takes out some kind of infrastructure things, but you still need to make sure you have great internet, because you will live and die by your internet. You need to make sure you have great internet. You need to make sure that your systems are in place to be able to manage that business. And I'm talking about your entire customer journey, your sales funnel, things like that. These are some of the things you need to think about. Now, also, kind of going back, if you wanted to have a physical business that needs space. So if I wanted to open up a restaurant or something, so many things to consider, right? You need to have not only business permits, how to get those kind of permits in a country that you may not speak the language, but also understand if your visa type allows you to open up a business. Isn't that something? Not all visa types allow you to do all the things when you're in country. So that is really important to think about. I feel like we could talk about visas till the cows come home. Like, visas are just a whole another beast, and it's a whole other beast for every single country. So it's like that. So the next thing I chat about is infrastructure. We just touched upon it, but let's get actually more deep into what I mean by infrastructure. I actually put a really nice example here. So that's what I'm reading off of. I'm reading off my own little article here. And I say, for example, if you're a candle maker, consider how you source your raw materials. Is the delivery of these materials dependable? Do you have the access to the tools needed to produce the candles? Let's just pause right there. So I'm in Spain, and I want to get my raw materials from somewhere else. Something that seems so simple, because maybe in the United States you could get your raw materials, you've been doing this for a while. You actually have to think about trade agreements and treaties that your country has. So not the United States, but I live in Spain. Are there trade agreements in place? Or does the country I live in have some kind of political beef right now with somebody that I need to get my source? That's where I source my materials. That's actually important. Sometimes we don't think about it all the way through. So that's something to consider, especially if you need to source raw materials from different countries. You make sure that you have the ability to do so, and that you live in a country that has like the trade agreements so that you can get your materials. Another thing is that you need to make sure that what are the customs that you will incur, which may be different, the fees and things like that you will incur to source these raw materials. Another thing, of course, is logistics. How long is it going to take for you once you place your order for it to be shipped on a boat or in an airplane, for it to hit customs, to get to where you are so that you can make your product so you can sell the product? That's really important because that will eat up a lot of production time. That will eat up a lot of just heart space and emotional space if you cannot provide your products. It's nothing like, obviously being a small business is different from being Amazon where you can just like ship it and go. But you need to be able to tell your customers, when you place an order with me, you're going to get it in, perhaps it's a month, all right? Because it's a customized thing and you're out of the country. But if it takes like 6 months, people are going to be mad. Or 3 months, people are going to be mad. You need to be able to let people know what they can expect, right? Manage expectations, business 101, okay? That's really important, and you really only understand that if you can understand your infrastructure, how you will be able to get the things you need to make the things you make and deliver it. Really, really important. And yeah, let's keep on going. So like I talked about earlier in this conversation, visa requirements and limitations, I touched on it. You need to really understand what visa class you're in and if your visa class will allow you to be an entrepreneur of your dreams. I will, not to get too into that, but I think sometimes people don't realize that, if you're on a tourist visa, you're just really supposed to be a tourist. So a lot of people who are digital nomads and things like that, they work and they have business on a tourist visa. That is actually not the way you're supposed to go about it. Some countries are whatever. But a lot more countries, I think, in light of a lot of things going on in the world, but I think especially the pandemic, are creating a separate visa class called digital nomads. And I would highly suggest you get the digital nomad visa if you plan on working while you are abroad and you are going to be there and you're going to be a nomad and you have an online business. Because what you don't want to do is be on a different visa that does not allow you to do the work that you are doing and get in trouble and get deported. Okay? Because that's the thing. It doesn't really matter if your visa is valid or that's not the issue, because it becomes null and void if you violate the terms of your visa. It's a legal document. So it doesn't really matter if it's still valid, if it's not expired. If you violate the terms of your visa, then no. So understand your visa class, understand your limitations for sure. You also want to definitely consider business registration. You may need to register your business as an entity within the country that you're in. You may be able to work in the country that you're in with a foreign business. But you usually have to have some kind of permission, or maybe it will be explicit in how you do your taxes and things like that. For example, if you have an American business and you move to maybe the UK, I don't actually know, they may, depending on maybe the type of business that you engage in, maybe, I don't know, it's also a guess, perhaps financial services, they're like, oh yeah, you need to incorporate under an LTD here in the UK to be able to do these services. And so you would need to also do that. Some countries will say, no, you can work here as a foreign entity. There are probably some paperwork you need to do so, especially with taxes, maybe business permits, but you can work and you can have your business here in this country as a foreign entity, perhaps. But you need to really understand that. And I highly recommend working with a tax attorney that works with, or a tax specialist that works with business, and works with foreigners that have businesses, so that you know all the things you need to do. Also with an attorney, a business attorney that can help you get the right permits, right? So a lot of times we don't want to do these kinds of things, especially if you're starting off. If you have a really small kind of shop as a solopreneur, and you're like, you're not making that much money, you're just basically doing business as, this is not legal advice, but like, obviously you're trying to see if you have a concept, testing it to see if it's worth it. That's one thing. It's a whole nother thing to be having a whole running business and not taking the correct, making the correct provisions and doing the things you need to do to be within the letter of the law. Because, the thing is, it's not a problem until it is a problem. And then it's a huge problem, right? So I think it's really important that you definitely check out a lawyer and a tax specialist that can help you really find out the things that you need to be able to register your business properly. If you just joined me, hey, I'm Christine of Flourish and Foreign. I'm talking about expat entrepreneurs building a business overseas, which is an article that I wrote for The Black Expat. You can check out the full article there, theblackexpat.com. It's going to be a series, so tune in for the next part of that episode of that article. I just wanted to come on here and talk about some of the things that I wrote and kind of just, get you guys kind of up to speed on some other things that are happening with the podcast as well, which I will do when I'm finished with this. So another thing to consider is business culture, which is really, really important. I think especially if you're going to be interacting, obviously, in the local economy, it's really important to understand, how does business get done here? What are the spoken and unspoken rules? What is business decorum? What are the social norms? Also, it's important for you to know, so you know that you're not getting played too. That's the thing about it. You need to know this is a thing or this is not a thing. How do I demonstrate respect? How do I demonstrate trust and dependability? How do I gauge trust and dependability? These are things that you need to understand. I would also sincerely recommend you do some research on the country. It's really important for you to understand what's the economy looking like, but also you want to look at what are the national aims for their economy? What does the current administration want to emphasize? And see if your industry is in there. It's also important to see if the current administration of the country you live in, are they pro foreigners or anti-foreigners or neutral to foreigners? Because that's also going to definitely change how you do business. So it's really, really important for you to understand that. Also understand what industry is the country trying to build or emphasize, because you don't want to go in there and there's maybe money and funds for this one industry, maybe none for yours. Go where the money resides is what I'm saying. Okay? Go where the money resides. Oh, hey, Quinn. Hi. Oh, thanks. Thanks, Boo. Another thing to think about is language. Do you speak the local language? And if you don't, is that going to be a problem? It's really important for you to understand that, okay? A lot of paperwork will be obviously in the official language. Do you need to hire a translator to go with you to file these documents, to fill out the documents? If you're not proficient in the language, and I would say proficient is not just you can speak and things like that, but business proficient, right? Can you read a contract and really understand what you're writing or you're reading and signing to? If not, you need to go ahead and employ a translator or employ, a attorney that is bilingual and an accountant that's bilingual. It's going to cost you more. Let's just get over it. It's going to cost you more, but you need to know what you're signing to. Because, a lot of times when we go abroad, our frame of reference is obviously from our home country. What we think makes sense, like, of course, that's rational, is literally just based upon our own experience. Okay, so don't, other people's rationality and what things make sense and how things would unfold are completely different because it's cultural. So do not sign to something that you don't know what you're talking about. Don't try to Google Translate it. There's sometimes Google Translate is fine. Google Translate is fine for the grocery store, for the post office, things like that. I wouldn't utilize Google Translate for contracts, or if you want to translate your materials or your website. I wouldn't Google Translate it and stick it on your website. Wouldn't do that. No, you need to go ahead and pay a reputable, bilingual, multilingual copywriter. That is really important. So that is just a couple of the elements that I talked about in the article. It's going to be a series, so check out the next part of the series. I'm really excited. Again, it's on theblackexpat.com. Also, I've been putting out a lot of content, so I want to make sure that you've been checking it out. The YouTube channel is popping. I know. I don't have 100 subscribers, but it's popping right now. Okay, I put out a lot of really great, a lot of great content. So check it out. I put out an episode interview with Kristen of Certified Africa. Her and her husband both are former attorneys, love Ghana, and they help people relocate to Ghana. And actually, they can help you relocate to several countries on the continent and start businesses. So a lot of people want to relocate to the continent, and I've seen some Facebook threads, and a lot of people are giving bad advice. And I've visited the continent. I've never lived, and I know it's bad advice. And I'm like, that doesn't even seem like that's right. So don't do that. You need to go ahead and check out this video I did with Kristen. She talks about her journey to getting into falling in love with Africa and how they started their business and exactly what they do. And I'm just a big believer in investing in things that you should invest in, which is expertise and getting people to help you get abroad. Yes, there are some people that can wing it and just go and do it, but most of the time it's not mostly everyone. It's not you, probably. It's not me either. So it's like, most time people can't just move with like a hobo bag and like $5. So invest in people that can help you get to where you want to go. I also have a video that I did about how to get a job abroad and like the different kind of strategy. I kind of just gave my advice because I've been able to, one, go abroad, teach English, flip that into freelance writing, flip that into a fully remote business strategy position for a boutique web development firm. Work for myself again, launch a podcast, but then still get offered a full-time job here in Spain in the middle of a pandemic with a boutique advertising firm. I know a little bit of something. That's all I gotta say. I know a little bit of something. I shared my little bit of something about how to best go about it and how you just need to change up maybe your strategy. But I also have another video about securing employment abroad by an expert. I just did that live today, and it's with Itia Thomas. If that name sounds familiar, it's because she's a past podcast guest. So check out her episode. She's based in Australia. And in this conversation, we talked about how she moved to Australia with a whole different kind of dream and vision. That bubble got burst, and she needed to pivot, and quickly. Yeah, she had to change, or she had to leave the country. So she had to pivot and secure employment in country. She talks about how she found recruiters who were actually the best that could have placed her, how she pushed them, and then how to take over the negotiation and was like, look, thank you for getting me this far, but I need to get this done. And she negotiated an amazing salary, amazing job, and being sponsored and residency, right? So a lot of times you will hear that, companies don't want to sponsor you. And for the most part, I guess they don't. I mean, they're not going to advertise being like, yeah, we'll sponsor you. But she actually really utilized her just skills and her employment background to leverage and get them to sponsor her, which led her to getting Australian residency. And now she is practically an Australian citizen. And I say practically because she only needs to get sworn in. She's approved. They're waiting to give her the koala and the flag. I'm sorry. They're just waiting for it. All she has to do is really just raise her hand and make the oath, and then she's Australian citizen. So if you have dreams to secure residency abroad, if you have dreams to have a job abroad and within your career field, because not everyone wants to teach English. And let me also tell you, I've interviewed enough educators that they are so angry and they're like, y'all need to stay in your career field because you guys are not educators, which I also agree. You're not educators, so stay in your lane. Education is a completely different thing. I deeply agree with that. So if you want to stay in your career field, and you just want to take it abroad, I highly recommend watching this video I just did with Itea. We got into the nitty gritty about it. We went into her strategy. She dropped some gems on me in some game, but I was like, oh, I should employ that. Yeah, she is the one. She is the one. I highly, highly recommend you guys checking her out. So go ahead and do that. Also, if you're interested in learning more about building a business abroad, I am doing a class, a short class this afternoon. It's going to be 2 p.m. 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 8 p.m. my time. And I'm going to talk about basically how I have flipped all my opportunities and launched these businesses for myself, for my clients, how I've done it. I'm also going to talk about basically my framework, and I'm going to talk about, I'm thinking about it because I haven't even really created my slides yet, but I'm going to. I'm going to talk about the idea, right? Because I think that a lot of people don't know how to leverage their skills and their talents into a viable idea of a business, let alone execute it. So I think in this conversation, we're really going to talk about ideation. It's really important. Execution is by far the most important. But we're going to talk about ideation, and I hope you guys join me. All right. I think that is all that I am supposed to tell y'all today. Check out the podcast, Flourish in the Foreign. You can check it out at www.flourishintheforeign.com. Also, every episode of the podcast has a show notes website. It has a website page. Some people don't know that. So if you go to the website and you go to the episodes, you will actually see all of this information. You get like the bios and all the pictures of all the women I've interviewed and like all of their contact information. So you don't necessarily have to like listen to it and be like, what did she say? I don't know what she said. You could actually just go to the show notes website and you can just do it that way. I made it easy. And I realized that I don't think I've ever been saying that to y'all. I just assumed y'all knew that. But I'm saying it now, okay? So, I hope to see you guys this evening/afternoon. I think that's all for me. I hope you have a lovely, lovely day. Hey, VMware26. Okay, great, cool. See you then. Yes. If you're just joining, hello. I'm Christine, Flourish the Foreign. And yeah, I just had a little chat about how to build a business overseas. Check it out. And that is it. I will chat with you all soon. Bye.